Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat, our WWE show of the week. My name is George Coles. This is my tag team partner, Stevie Richards.
Big Stevie Cool, thank you very much. Gary Rhodes, everybody.
And the first thing we're going to talk about is the TLC pay-per-view. And the first match of the pay-per-view was the Rhodes Scholars versus Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara.
It had one of the best bumps of the night when Rhodes pushed Sin Cara through the table to end the match.
It was a tables match. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
And overall, a decent match, a nice card filler, good opener for a hardcore themed show. And then our next match was Antonio Cesaro versus R-Truth for the U.S. title. A weirdly timed match watching it live, but later you found out that Truth suffered a nasty cut on his kneecap.
And then, the thing is that was good about the match is you didn't know it.
Yeah.
You just thought it was a quick fix match, quick ending. I didn't know he was hurt until I saw pictures on WWE.com.
And I expect a little better, but now that I understand that he was injured, makes more sense.
Speaking a little better, Miz TV with a three-man band. Terrible.
Well, that part was bad, but then the three-man band starts picking on the Spanish announce team, which brings Ricardo Rodriguez out to defend them. They start hammering him, and that brings out Alberto Del Rio for Alberto's face turn.
In which they have a 3-on-3 match, which we'll mention their partner later on in the show.
Yeah. The next match of the night was Kofi Kingston versus Wade Barrett for the Intercontinental title.
Solid match.
I liked it. I thought it was a well-worked match. Kofi went over in the match. They continued to feud the next night. It's starting, the pay-per-view started to drag at this point a little bit, in my opinion. After coming off the Miz TV in this match, they gave this match a little bit longer than I think they should have. You could tell that they weren't prepared to go that long, and I'm guessing it's because of Cesaro versus Truth is why.
Yeah, it had some time to fill. Probably had about 20 minutes to make up or so.
Yeah. But it was a decent match, nothing great, nothing bad. Next match was the match of the night, in my opinion.
Oh, God, yeah. It should have been the main event.
It should have been, and that's what it seemed to be billed as. We had the Shield in their first actual WWE match versus Team Hell No and Ryback in a TLC match. However, it was a pinfall or submission TLC. There was nothing to climb the ladder for.
And this was just a brutal, hard-hitting match. The Shield earned their stripes to be in the WWE.
Oh, I loved how they were working. They would work 3-on-1, and then they'd isolate one guy, and then they'd go to another guy and isolate him, and then go to another guy and isolate him. Some really, really, really dangerous-looking spots. The spot that Seth Rollins took on the stage.
I thought, dude, was going to get decapitated. And the thing that you brought up is they had some of these during the house shows. The same matches built up for the house shows, and Team Hell No and Ryback were going over. So it was good that, and I like D. Bryan, but it didn't hurt him to get pinned.
That super powerbomb was amazing.
Oh my goodness!
I haven't seen a super bomb that good since the Pitbulls. Can you think of one that's even?
No.
I don't even know anybody that's used it since then, to be honest with you. But it's definitely the match of the night and definitely the match of the week for WWE. Our next match was really a letdown. Eve versus Naomi, who won a Divas Battle Royal before the show to get the #1 contender. That's all we're going to say about that because there was nothing. It was your standard issue Divas match.
That was a little too much. Anyways, it goes into the world title match coming up next, which is funny that the world title match didn't main event, but the guys fighting for the spot to be the #1 contender or Money to Bank were the main event. But anyways.
WWE booking logic.
Exactly.
We had Sheamus versus the Big Show in a chairs match. I think, in my opinion, out of the 3 times they fought on pay-per-view, this was the worst of the 3.
Yes.
The other 2 I liked substantially more. The gimmick giant chair just didn't do anything for me.
Was that the gobbledygooker's chair? Or, it just looked like something out of the 80s. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, and I think it's about time this feud stops, and I don't think this is a blow-off, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but their other 2 matches I thought were great, and this one was very substandard.
We're going to talk about another okay match. It was the 3-man band versus Alberto Del Rio, The Miz, and their surprise partner, the Brooklyn Brawler. They were in Brooklyn. So.
It makes sense. They were in Brooklyn. If you can't get Taz, you get the Brawler.
Exactly. And the Brawler went over with the Boston Crab.
The Brooklyn Crab.
The Brooklyn Crab, I'm sorry.
the terrible looking book.
Oh, it was god awful.
Yeah. But you know, it was a decent match. Got a nice nostalgia pop for Brawler. But you know, nothing really special. The next match actually was a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
I agree.
John Cena versus Dolph Ziggler in a ladder match for the Money in the Bank.
Like I was telling you when we were watching, I was like, Ziggler and Cena are going to have to pull out all the tricks to try to even come close to being as good as the Shield, Hell No, and Ryback were.
Yeah, and it was a really, really solid match. Ziggler definitely is showing that he deserves to be in a main event picture. AJ Lee turns on Cena at the end of the match and pushes him off the ladder so Ziggler could win. I thought it was a good worked match. The only thing I don't like is we're ending too many pay-per-views on a screw job. A screw job's okay to end a Monday Night Raw or SmackDown main event show with, but pay-per-views are where you go to see the payoff.
Everything culminates to the payoff, and it seems like both WWE and TNA are missing out on the payoffs. But, you know, we've gone over that before.
I do like that Ziggler got to keep his Money in the Bank, though. That was worth the shitty ending.
Yeah.
And it was a decent match, don't get me wrong.
Oh, Super Cena couldn't lose fair and square, which I thought would make Ziggler. If he would have beat Cena fair and square, because he's not pinning him, he's not making him give up, he's climbing a ladder and grabbing a suitcase. You know, it's not killing his pride any, but you know, that's just the thing with John Cena.
They could have done something like, remember when Cena taped up Batista in the where he got counted down?
Mm-hmm.
Last man standing match. Where he taped him up so he couldn't get up. They could have did something like that. He could have handcuffed him to the ropes or something.
Exactly, something like that.
But for the overall, the pay-per-view was a little lackluster. The Shield match is the only thing worth even watching the pay-per-view for. I mean, some of the matches were
honestly,
decent.
That Shield match was probably the best match I've seen in a while.
It's definitely one of the best six-man tag matches in a long time.
I can
for a match that absolutely meant nothing, it was tremendous.
Yeah.
Now, coming off the pay-per-view, we're going to talk about our question of the week from last week. Now, the question was, do you think that they're pushing the Shield into a match too quickly? Apropos, we were just talking about that. Now, we got some answers for some of our friends. The first one's from our friend Paul over at the Deadly Sins. We've seen Shield every week since the last pay-per-view. It'll be good to see the three of them in an actual match since they are all very talented. They're going to surprise all the people who don't know who they are before they were Shield. Very good points there, Paul, and the match speaks for itself. That explains that. The next is from our friend Joshua Adams, 1044. It's good that Shield is in the main event because these guys can and will be main event as long as their push keeps going. WWE will be set. Sad thing is that WWE might crush them. I'd love to see more from them. I think the payoff absolutely was worth it. The reason I posed the question is because I was worried about WWE booking, putting them in, and having them lose their first match. But they didn't. They did right by them.
They did.
And right now, TNA needs to look at the Shield and look at their aces and eights. The Shield's a bunch of guys that none of the fans in WWE, majority of the fans in WWE, don't know who they are or where they come from. And they're getting over 10 times better than aces and eights are.
Oh, tenfold.
With a very similar gimmick. And that's the thing. If you start making things too convoluted and people don't want to watch because you watch wrestling as an escape. If I wanted something intelligent, and this is not a knock on wrestling.
That's what it's there for.
It's not, it's not rocket science. I'm not watching wrestling to get a complex storyline. Mm-hmm. They do put them out there. And I love when they do, but I'm watching wrestling for fun. Wrestling is fun.
Well, it isn't a complex storyline. It shouldn't be anyways. But anyways, let's get back to this.
Yes. Now, before we go into the question of the week for this week, Joshua Adams, 1044, also sent us a question. Do you guys think replacing Vicky with Ric Flair would be a better show? I've been a little bored with Raw lately. Vicky would be better suited as a manager for maybe Brad Maddox, but definitely move Vicky, haha, from Ziggler.
True.
It's kind of apropos with what happened later in the Raw show.
So what's your opinion on the Shield pay-per-view push? I mean, do you think they did good?
I think they did good, but going to his question, I like the Shield. I would love to see Ric Flair in Vicky Guerrero's GM position. We'll speak about might as well say it now. Ric Flair comes back on Monday Night Raw and does about a 30-minute segment. Everybody went apeshit bananas seeing Rick. I mean, who doesn't love seeing the Nature Boy out there?
Oh, it's true. The man belongs in the WWE right now.
I mean, he is. He is wrestling.
Well, he belongs to WWE as he did to NWA back in the 80s and 70s.
And the show's just better with him, and I agree. I'd love to see him take Vicky's role and move Vicky to something else.
I think that's what they're going to end up doing.
I hope so. It seems that they're pulling her away from Ziggler, which we're going to talk about
later on.
Actually, we'll get into the right now. We'll start talking about that Raw show. Well, before we do that, our question of the week for this week is during the Raw show, we're not going to be able to talk about the Slammies just because of time constraints. There's a lot of stuff we need to cover. Who was your favorite return of the night? Was it Flair? Was it DX? Was it Tommy Dreamer? Was it the Boogeyman? Not Gary's favorite, your favorite. Let us know.
That's not my favorite.
Let us know what you think. Hit us up on our Twitter, put it on our Facebook, put it down where?
Down there. I want the big one for. Well, you mentioned the Outlaws.
Put it right there in the comments.
Knuckleball Schwartz.
And we'll talk about it next week. Now, moving on to our Raw show, the first match of the Raw show was Rey Mysterio versus Damian Sandow. I thought it was a really decent match. I liked it as a hot opener for the show.
The only thing I didn't like is the wrong guy went over.
I agree with you. Mysterio.
Well, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. He does have his fans. I do think that Sandow is a guy that, with the proper push, can be a top-of-the-card guy. Speaking of push, the next match was something I wanted to push my eyeballs back into my brain about.
Well, how about pretty much almost the next three matches? I mean, Kofi and Tensai was okay, but we had three job matches quick.
Well, that and even Caitlyn.
Oh, even Caitlyn. I didn't even mention that.
Well, Caitlyn got the win, which makes it kind of mentionable.
Okay.
Again, just like the match on the pay-per-view, it was a terrible match by the Divas again. We don't want to keep bashing the Divas. Please give us something to talk good about them about. I mean, I feel we're coming off as chauvinist pigs bashing them, but it's terrible.
What gets me is like we were talking good about the TNA Knockouts, and as soon as we start talking good about them, then they start wrestling like shit.
Yeah.
It's almost like if we talk good about them, they start fucking up.
Exactly. Now, and like you did say, the next couple matches were all squashes. Kofi squashed Tensai, Kali squashed Otunga, Brodus Clay squashed JTG, who even knew he still was wrestling here.
Guess who's here?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But in the middle of that, we had the Ric Flair return, which brought up... Flair gave out the Superstar of the Year. And CM...
Woo!
Are you done yet?
Yeah, I'm done.
It was supposed to be up to the fans to vote on it, but John Cena won. How John Cena won over CM Punk, I don't get.
Dude, he got booed out of the arena as soon as he came out there. I mean, Punk got booed when he came out, but he got booed not when he first
to be.
Well, no, he got booed because he started talking shit to Ric Flair.
Yeah, and then it led up a verbal confrontation with Flair and Punk, which brought him to the ring. Punk attacked Flair. Flair attacked back. Punk kind of got knocked out of the ring. Flair put Heyman in the figure 4. Good stuff. Then we go to the commercial break with the Shield coming down to right the injustice. Shield come out. They start attacking Ric Flair. Hell No comes out to make the big save. Here's one thing that's interesting, right? Mm-hmm. John Cena cares so much about Ric Flair that he'll give him his Slammy for Superstar of the Year, but 5 minutes later he won't save him from a beatdown from the Shield?
He has nothing to worry about.
You know.
That's it. That's just him.
But anyway, you had Team Hell No come out trying to make the save. They get beat down by the Shield, which brings out Ryback that clears everybody out because Ryback's a monster, apparently.
Well, let's talk about the next. The next match we're going to talk about is the Sin Cara versus Cody Rhodes. Now, I figured that Cara was going to go over because of Ray going over.
Yeah.
But as soon as they announced that on main event it's going to be Cody Rhodes versus Kane, I was like, okay, Kane or Rhodes is winning, and then boom, 2 seconds later, Crossroads and he wins. You know?
I liked it. I read today that Sin Cara is going to have to take some time off to heal some injuries.
Yeah.
Probably going to miss a second straight WrestleMania. I mean, the guy, for whatever they signed him for, he's not living up to his contract.
Well, that's why ADR is doing the face turn.
Yeah.
I mean, they even said on WWE.com, Mysterio has two strikes already. Sin Cara's got some injuries, and he's already got one strike. They need a Spanish top babyface, a Latin top babyface, and ADR. They're just testing the waters. Now I heard that even if he doesn't work out straight as a babyface, they're going to keep Roberto Rodriguez as a babyface.
There you go.
So
that works because Rodriguez is an interesting character.
Yeah.
Now our next thing, and like I mentioned earlier, was Big Show and Sheamus doing a promo, led to them brawling for a little bit, and Sheamus beating the shit out of Show, which brings out Dolph Ziggler ready to cash in the Money in the Bank. Everybody gets excited.
Then
the crowd went. No. Before we talk about the Cena, the crowd's reaction to Ziggler coming out, they went ape shit, ready for him to cash in. I mean, they were excited.
Dude, I was waiting for it. I was so pumped.
There was only one pop that I think was bigger in the night, and we'll get to that in a couple minutes. But it was Ziggler came down for the cash in, and then what happened, Gary? I'll let you talk about it.
That son of a bitch, John Cena, comes out and ruins it. Man, I was so pissed.
Doesn't he sound like a mark?
Well, I just hate John Cena's character so much. You know, I know he's probably the nicest guy in the world in real life, whatever, or he's a big dick or a piece of shit. I don't really care. I don't want to be friends with him. I just can't stand that character so much. I'm tired of it. It's been 10 years of bullshit.
Well, the thing of it is, everybody was ready for the cash-in.
Exactly, man. You give people what they want. One of the last Raws of the year, and you want to end a note on something awesome. Dolph Ziggler.
Awesome.
Exactly. We'll talk about him later on, too. Dolph Ziggler winning the title at the end of the year would have been monumental for his career.
Exactly. I mean, I thought he should. I think they should have went ahead with the cash-in right there. I was pretty pissed off about it. I stayed pissed off for about 5 minutes, and then after the commercial break, there was something that made me really happy.
It still didn't make me pissed. I'm still pissed.
But, you know, they made up for it, in my opinion, on the next match. The three-man band came out, and they were fighting Alberto Del Rio and Miz, and this time a mystery partner. And guess who it was? Go ahead, Gary. I'll let you get it.
Tommy Dreamer. And he was wearing a T-shirt for his new
House of Hardcore promotion, which I thought was pretty awesome that he did that there. I thought it was all. Maybe they didn't understand what he was wearing, or maybe they let him do it. Maybe that was part of his deal. Tommy Dreamer came out, and the crowd went batshit crazy. We're chanting his name. We're chanting ECW, everything. Tommy Dreamer was in Philadelphia. Someone said on Twitter, someone was talking to me, I can't remember who, do you think it should have been Sabu instead of Dreamer? And the point that I made to them is, if this was just an ECW crowd, Sabu and Dreamer would probably get the same reaction. However, this is a WWE crowd, and to WWE, they don't know Sabu as much as they know Tommy.
And to an average WWE fan, if they know anything about ECW, Tommy Dreamer was their face of their company.
And it was great. I'm a big Tommy fan. I have been for a long time. I'm a huge ECW fan, so if you're an ECW fan, you kind of got to love Tommy.
I'm more of a Raven guy.
I mean, I love Raven too, but...
What about Raven? What about me?
It's... You done yet?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Uncle Scotty wasn't there. Tommy was. Tommy gets the win with a DDT, and it was tremendous.
It was a great match. I think they did good.
And from what I read, they want to bring Tommy back and use him more in this role because of the crowd reaction. And another thing that I thought was really awesome what he did, that later on they had the Shield beat Tommy down in the back, which, here's a guy that gets it. He understands the business. He came in for a one-shot to come in, and he puts over the young kids on the way out.
And that's the way you're supposed to do it. Maybe Hulk Hogan should take a lesson from him.
There you go. And going into our next match of the night, which I ran a little bit long, gushing on Tommy for there.
Well, I'll get into it then, because I gush on this next guy so much. Not Ryback, but it's Ryback versus Antonio Cesaro. And it was a short match, but Cesaro showed his strength off again with another big-ass takedown he put on Ryback, which the match ended in a count-out, which is perfect for the situation.
Exactly. It was a decent match, nothing great, maybe a preview of something bigger to come down.
I think they're just testing the waters, crowd reaction.
And our next match was the main event, AJ Lee and Dolph Ziggler versus Cena and Vicky Guerrero.
Yeah, this is a straight-up bullshit match. The match beforehand should have been the main event, to me.
The thing that saves it for me is they debuted Big E Langston at the end, which is a guy coming... That was a large black man that came out.
The Coco Beware on steroids. Ryback. No, dude looks like Coco Beware. He don't have a mean face. If they're going to work on anything, you got to put a good mask on a guy.
I watch FCW, and he's a guy. He's a really good power wrestler, and he has a good, decent aura about him, a good it factor. He's a little bit bad on the stick, but that doesn't seem to matter with guys like Ryback. So why would it matter with him? I like the ending personally. I like them. They're debuting a lot of new characters, freshening up the show. Overall, I thought the show was okay. The Slammies, I think, kind of brought it down a little bit, other than the surprise appearances.
How many Slammies have you won, George?
I've won a bunch. How many world championships have you won?
WWE champ. That's why JBL's the man.
How many WWE championships have you won? Perfect.
No, what we were talking about is during the show, Michael Cole goes to JBL as a smartass. He goes, well, how many? Or no, it was actually Jerry Lawler goes and asks, well, how many Slammies have you won, JBL? JBL goes, how many WWE championships have you won, Jerry?
Exactly.
I just love it.
But he did win against a heart attack, so.
Yeah, that's good. You know, I just like the way they pick on each other.
But basically, that's all I got to say about the show. Is there anything you need to add, GR?
I think we're good. I mean, what would you rate the show? The Raw show?
Probably, I'd say a 3.
Just because of Flair?
There's a couple things. Flair, Tommy, the Shield, continued push. But it was a decent show.
Yeah, I'll go 3 with you. I'll be honest with you.
Well, my name is George Coles.
I'm Gary Rhodes.
And this has been Heel Heat.